Greetings and welcome to the Transform Podcast. This is episode 45, and it is Saturday, March 26th, 2022. I'm your host, Christopher Anastasio, and today we're going to talk about building Q&A content / reputation when you're just starting out with your social media and digital marketing efforts. So, be a fairly quick episode, guys. It's going to be very tactical, very narrowly focused, but it's an idea that I had just sort of pop into my head. I was consuming some content, forget where or who it was, but I was consuming some content that had to do with the value of Q&A, like showing your audience that you have authority and credibility and the ability to answer their questions and calm their nerves about whatever it is that they're concerned about in your space and that sort of thing. And so, this is actually something we addressed on this podcast. It was in late December 2021 in episode 22, and I talked about Q&A content. I talked about how valuable Q&A content can be, whether it's a Q&A in your blog or it's video content where you're answering questions that have been sent into you by your audience or that you've seen in working with your clientele and things of that nature. And so we've already covered the value of this. Of course, it's not harmful to revisit it. A lot of the topics we're in a revisitation sort of mode because things change so much and things require emphasis. But the key thing here, guys, is you could kind of come back to me and be like, hey, Chris, great, Q&A is great. Love the idea of doing Q&A, but I'm kind of in the early stages of my digital and social media marketing. I don't have anybody asking me any questions. I don't have a big YouTube channel with people leaving all sorts of comments and asking me all sorts of things. So what do I do if I don't really have a basis to work off of? I mean, there's nobody's questions to answer, right? So obviously, and we'll go through this in sort of like some stages, if you will, or some different ways to look at it, I guess you could say. I mean, one way you could look at it is just, as I kind of alluded to a second ago, is if your business has been running at all, you probably have questions coming up in your face-to-face interactions with your clients. So you don't have to have an online presence to have questions, right? So this is something we already covered. It's actually not really the main topic for today, but I just want to kind of check this box, is that don't ignore the questions you get when you sit down with a client, when you're sitting across from somebody. You may not think of it in digital means because you're having a face-to-face with them and you're doing real contact, in the flesh, but you absolutely are gleaning insightful comments, questions, concerns in those settings that you can carry over to your digital space. Okay, so let's just kind of get that out of the way. So here's what I really wanted to mention to you guys that kind of popped into my head. So on the digital side, to build that reputation, to build that foundation, one of the ways you can do this is in your space. Assuming you're kind of a small business, you're starting out, you don't quite have the reputation of some of the other people or businesses in your space. Find their social media accounts, find their YouTube channel, find their Facebook page, find their Instagram account, whatever the case may be. Perhaps go to the one that looks the most vibrant in terms of comments and in terms of interchange with their audience. And these are people you may already follow. I mean, if you follow a lot of peers in your industry or businesses that are, let's say, above you in terms of revenue, you may already be active in these accounts. But if you're not, go there, look and see what people are asking. Look and see what they're saying, and the fears, the anxieties, the questions, the confusion, the doubt that they're expressing in those comments, and just start replying to them. I know, for example, on YouTube, just picking one. When you go into the comment section on YouTube, you can make your own comment and you can display your knowledge and your authority there. But you can also look at other comments and reply specifically to those comments. And so the value of that is the person who posted that comment is going to know that there was a reply to their comment. So it's almost like a way of contacting that person in sort of a soft manner, where you're not spamming them, you're not just hitting them with some kind of sales pitch out of nowhere on a cold email or something like that. They're going to be like, wait, I made a comment on that YouTube video and this person responded to it. This person had a reply for me, right? This person may have some insight into the comment I made. So immediately, it's basically like a warm outreach versus a cold outreach. Okay, so what you're doing is you're hitting a couple bases at once, but the main thing you're doing is you're demonstrating credibility and you're demonstrating knowledge, and you're putting an authoritative voice out there by saying, hey, saw you made this comment. You were asking about, real estate 1031 exchanges. Here's, I do 1031 exchanges, and here's how it goes from my standpoint. Boom, 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 boom. Now all of a sudden, you've got a person who, let's say, left a comment about that on a bigger than you, on a bigger platform in terms of the business that they were responding to or they were following. Chances are they didn't get a response from that business because that business is too big, it's too busy, it's not reading all its comments, it's not hustling on social media the way you are or the way you will be. So all of a sudden, that person's been sort of left in the lurch. They never got an answer to their question until you came along and answered the question for them. So now you've got them asking a question, you answering it, a warm outreach that they're appreciative of, and now you've got some content for your other social media efforts and posting and so forth down the road, because you can come back and say, hey, on January 15th, I saw this guy made a comment on this YouTube channel and I answered it this way. Let's talk about that. Let's elaborate on that. So all of a sudden you have a springboard, and you can reference the fact that you've been responsive to people asking questions. So you kind of kill two birds with that stone, showing that you're engaged on social media and you know what you're talking about. Okay? So that's one way to do it, where you're very actively engaged in other channels' comment sections, right? And you're putting on display your knowledge and your ability. The second thing you can do is more of a roundup, where you go through comments. Let's say you follow somebody who does real estate because you're a real estate person, a real estate investment advisor, for example, just pulling something out of the air. And you go to some other real estate investment advisor's YouTube channel who's bigger than you, has a bigger audience, has lots of comments coming in on their YouTube videos and so forth. Scroll through the comments. Pick 3 to 5. Okay, this person said, how do I do a 1031 exchange? This person said, what tax breaks do I get from rental property? This one said, how do I determine how to buy my first rental property? Pull those out. Make a new piece of content answering those questions. Hey, I was on so-and-so's YouTube channel. Noticed these questions hadn't been answered or weren't getting answered very quickly. However you want to do it. I mean, you don't have to take a dig at the other business if you don't want to. I don't think that's the critical part here. But you can do that. You can kind of point out, like, hey, I'm responsive, they're not, right? And that's one of the value propositions that often small businesses have to rely on is, hey, you can go to the big boys and nobody's going to answer you, or you can come to us where you get very personalized service, right? So anyway, you come over, you glean those questions out of the comment section, you make a new piece of content, you mention or not where you got the questions from, and you say, hey, you'll probably find me on these channels answering questions. So if you have a question, it's not getting answered by so-and-so, look for my reply. And you almost gain a little bit of, not infamy, but you gain a little bit of fame for being the person who's actually responsive and going out to these channels and these platforms and answering questions and helping people. Okay, you just simply cannot underestimate how powerful that is when you are the person who has no idea what to do about something. When you're lost, when you're confused, you've kind of resorted to, let me just throw this comment here on YouTube and see if I get any answers. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's a reply there. And it's somebody who sounds like they know what they're talking about. Now, one word of caution, guys, I'll just kind of finish up with this, is it would be really nice if you could reply and say, hey, check out my channel and I'll answer the question there, and try to pull the person over to your channel. But in my personal experience, I'm pretty sure this is Google policy, and I'm still focusing on YouTube here. Although, again, I admit I don't know exactly what every policy is on every platform, but I know that at one point in the fairly recent past, trying to promote other YouTube channels via the comment section on other people's YouTube stations didn't work. Those comments were immediately essentially removed. So you're not going to be able to say, most likely, you are not going to be able to say, hey, come over and check out my channel. Hey, come over and check out my page. You simply have to establish who you are without doing that level of promotion. hey, I'm a CPA, I do real estate, they can Google you. Okay, like if you put any effort into, let's say, your website or any of your social platforms where you've branded yourself, and you just pop up with your name in the comments, just tell them, hey, I'm a CPA, you can Google me, whatever. Here's my answer. And then they'll come find you. Now, it's not ideal, trust me, it's not ideal than having the link there that they can just, boom, come right over and subscribe to your channel or whatever. But the bottom line is, it is a way to promote what you know, promote yourself, and get the word out there. Okay, guys, so like I said, this was going to be very rare that we do Saturday podcasts at Transform. So this one was going to be a quick one, and I kept it to that. But anyway, thanks for checking out this episode 45, guys. Earlier this week, I think we published on Tuesday, episode 44. Definitely check that one out when you get a chance. Kind of a fun episode where I got to talk about my digital mentor, Gary Vee, and his agency, and how they've really kind of put out a very unique sort of content model that's not common in the industry. So it's really kind of an interesting episode if you guys want to check that out. It's called Enter the Matrix, parentheses, content model, the Matrix content model. That's my wording for it, by the way, not VaynerMedia's. So check that episode out if you guys get a chance. I think that came out Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. Thanks for checking out today's episode 45. Super appreciate you guys following us, listening to us, liking, sharing, subscribing. It's huge for us as we continue to grow this podcast. Next week, be back with episodes 46 and 47. And I'm really excited as we close in on the episode 50 milestone. So thanks again, guys. I'm your host, Christopher Anastasio, signing off. Check us out, Transform.com, Transform Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.